Thank you, Fran. Can everyone hear me without my microphone? No? Okay. I've been told I'm a loudmouth my entire life. I just kind of wanted to test it out right there. I guess not as much as everybody said. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Fran. As you mentioned, my name is Cary Cheshire. I'm the Vice President of Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, which is the premier project of Empower Texans. I'm the guy that gets to hand out torches and pitchforks, which is my favorite thing to do, and I figure I'm in a pretty good audience for that this evening. The torches that I mentioned are our Texas Scorecard, which is our newsletter that we make available to all Texans, both online and in print. If you are not a subscriber to that already, you can go, there's a sign-up sheet right outside the door. You can also text the word Scorecard to 52886 on your phone. It'll subscribe you right there. That's Scorecard to 52886. And the other big thing that I'm behind is what's called our Fiscal Responsibility Index. This is where we give lawmakers a grade after every session on how they do on issues of limited government, taxation, fiscal responsibility, and liberty. You can see that some lawmakers do very, very well. Jonathan Stickland has a 100. You can see that some lawmakers, like Chris Putnam's state representative, don't do so well. And we've got everybody in between. And really, what I really like most about Empower Texans is that I get the opportunity to basically get paid to be a conservative activist. Because I'm exactly like all of y'all. I've been active in my community from the very get-go. My first job in politics was when I was 6 years old. I was putting ice in cups of tea, iced tea, for a Democrat county judge where I was from. I very quickly started volunteering and block walking for Ron Paul, who was my congressman. In high school, I rigged our straw poll for Mike Huckabee. So if you look there's a 2008 Barbers Hill High School straw poll, and Mike Huckabee won it outright. Did not win the presidency outright at all, but I only think that's because I wasn't managing his presidential campaign. So I went to Texas A&M. Thank you. Very quickly got involved there with Ted Cruz's campaign on campus, which they tell you, okay, we're going to have you be the campus coordinator. What you actually get to do is go block walk the entire time and sign up people to vote. But that was actually my favorite thing because it was getting out and talking to real people, to real Texans, hearing their story, finding out what issues they're motivated about, why they're conservative, what they're concerned about in the future of this country. And that's really kind of what motivated me to start our newspaper that we started. Now, we say it was a nonprofit newspaper because there is no profitable newspaper. There is no profitable. That's why you keep seeing all these layoffs everywhere. But really, we were very successful on campus. We fought against a couple tuition hikes, and we got a member of the Board of Regents to resign. It was a lot of fun time, digging up dirt on local officials. But what I'm here to talk to you about tonight is not about me. It's about something that affects all of us, and that's our Texas legislature. And I'm here replacing Dan Patrick, who decided that Trump was more important than y'all. I guess I'm not more important than Trump, but that's okay. Okay, look, I just hope that while he's there with them, he tells them that it is an emergency and we do need to build the dang wall. I was on Twitter earlier today because I think everybody my age spends all their day on Twitter. And I came across this statistic, and I was telling a couple people this before this meeting, absolutely astounding. Canada has 40,000 Canadians in Canadian prisons. We have 45,000 illegal aliens in our prisons. We have more illegal aliens in our prisons than the entire prison population of Canada. If that isn't an emergency, if that doesn't say that we need the president to immediately start construction on the wall, I don't know what is. Absolutely astounding. And here in Texas, we've got our state at the head of some of the biggest magnets. It was only last session that we were able to finally ban sanctuary cities. We've still got in-state tuition, and we've got Democrats now who are trying to give them driver's licenses. But the positive news is that it's not all bad in the Texas legislature. As Chris Putnam mentioned, there is a really positive property tax reform bill that's out that's going to give us a whole lot more power. What he didn't talk about, because he kind of stole a lot of the stuff that I was going to talk about, what he didn't talk about were some things that I like even more about that bill. Number one, when you get your property tax bill, if this reform bill passes, it's going to have the vote by your taxing entity for them to raise taxes. It's going to say you had County Commissioner Joe and County Commissioner Susie, and Joe voted for it. Susie voted against it. Here's your tax increase. That's going to be on your bill. It's going to have their contact information, their email, their phone number. It's going to tell you both how to get in contact with them and how to go protest your taxes, which we need more people doing. And those rollback elections that we're talking about, where if they do try and raise it over 2.5%, they won't be able to have that in the teacher's lounge on Tuesday if it's raining. I mean, they run these things like passport offices. They're going to have it on the November general election ballot, which would be incredible. I mean, you think about all the TREs that you've seen. You think about all the bond elections that you've seen where they try and hide them in the dog days of summer. They try and make it during new student orientation. They try and do the mobile voting hours where they move it from one teacher's lounge and one hospital and one county official annex to another. No, 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 no. Uniform election dates for the November ballot, which would more than quintuple the amount of people that are typically turning out for these things, and they'd probably start rejecting them. Because, I don't know, who thinks that they don't pay enough in property taxes? I'm not seeing a single hand go up. But those are all the elements of the reform bill. Now, there are two things that we have to be very, very careful of. The bill passed as it is, as we're talking about it, out of the committee today. The problem is there are already Democrats, there are already liberal Republicans. There are people who take your tax dollars and go down and testify against you in Austin, taxpayer-funded lobbyists, out en masse against this bill. Despite all of the patriots like Fran from all across the state and a number of others in this room who came down to testify, we were still outnumbered on that property tax reform bill. It was 135 to 148. I got to tell you, when that witness list came out on Friday, me and the other people in Empower Texans, we were combing through it. You see mayor, school board member, city councilman, county commissioner, county judge, firefighter union representative, police union representative. Not Colleyville mayor. But we poured over that thing for 2 hours. We were only able to find one guy that we thought might be a just regular Joe average citizen. And we were like, okay, well, we got to find out who this guy is. You know, I'm not like the Democrats. We didn't want to dox this guy. I didn't want to bring a PowerPoint slide with his name and address and all that stuff here. We had to figure out what he does. And we looked him up, and he's a big-time Democrat donor. He's a big-time Democrat voter. And we tried and tried and tried to see what we could find out about this guy. And we spent 2 hours. And finally, we got him. He was an elevator union constructor administrator. Yeah, I didn't know that elevator constructors had a union. They do. And this guy went and testified against you having the ability to vote on tax increases because, and we actually went and looked this up, and it's kind of crazy, on all of these bonds, when they go and update the schools, if you update an existing school with a bond that was built prior to the ADA, and it's a 2-story school, boom, you got to have an elevator. And so the elevator constructor lobby was down testifying against property tax reform. Now, if that doesn't tell you that government's gotten too big, I don't know what does. But all of this is great, Cary. All of this is great, Chris Putnam. All of this is great, Fran. But who would be happy if I told you your property taxes are only going to increase 2.5%? I think kind of this, doesn't this TEA stand for something? Taxed enough already, absolutely. And we've got to have actual reform. And the scary thing right now is that in Austin, or actual relief, see, I'm already falling into it. Lawmakers are trying to distract us all with this big flag of reform and hope that we forget about the relief. Hope that we forget about the fact that already in this state, people are being taxed out of their homes. People are having to choose in their retirement, I'm going to go to Colorado. I'm going to go to Florida because Texas has the 4th highest property taxes in the nation. That's a current problem. And none of this reform bill is going to help anything with that problem. It'll stop it from getting worse, But if you go to the hospital because you're sick, would you be satisfied if the doctor said, well, we're just going to stop it from getting worse? No, you want to get better. I want this infection out. I want this disorder fixed, or else I'm not going to pay you. Screw off. And that's what we ought to be telling our lawmakers. They keep talking about, oh, well, we can't talk about property tax relief without talking about school finance reform. Okay, that's true. But they've absolutely proved that the inverse isn't true. They've been talking about school finance reform now for how many years? And who's actually filed a relief proposal? They're not there. You know, it was before I was born, but I've seen it on YouTube. There's a commercial, I think y'all know this commercial that Wendy's had in the 80s that said, where's the beef? Well, my question for the Texas legislature is, where's the relief? Where is it? Where is it hiding? Because we've literally got some school districts, the taxpayers in these school districts, whose homes are 40, 50, 60% paying more than 40 to 50, 60% more in taxes than they should have to be paying because of Chapter 41 of the Texas Government Code called the Wealth Redistribution Tax. Yeah, that was done not while Bernie Sanders was governor, but while Republicans were in charge of Texas. Look it up, Chapter 41 of the Texas Government Code, the Wealth Redistribution Tax. That's the real name of Robin Hood. That's why they call it Robin Hood, because it's wealth redistribution, where they take money up here from Grapevine, Colleyville, Trophy Club, everywhere in between, and go give it down to some podunk town that isn't run right. Now, what we've talked about is, okay, what we need to do is we need to reduce these taxes by using existing sales taxes, come in and buy it down across the state. You'd have a uniform standard by which the state would be giving money to school districts that you could later have perhaps follow the child. But that's just if you're kind of sneaky and conspiratorial. And uniform. And we'd be able to alleviate these big problems. And it's not just a problem in wealthy areas. Houston ISD is the biggest payer into Robin Hood. Houston ISD, with the majority of their students are economically disadvantaged. Austin ISD. You have huge groups of people where because of their very expensive high rises in real estate, they're paying 40%, in the city of Austin, 40% of Austin ISD's budget is recapture. That's how bad it's getting here in the state of Texas. And we're not seeing lawmakers come out with a serious solution to address this problem. We're not seeing it yet. Now, they're saying, oh, well, we're working on something. Just wait and see. But we haven't seen it yet. And we haven't seen it yet because taxpayers have not been mad enough at them and because they haven't listened. You know, we talked about the November election earlier. Republicans didn't do so well in that November election because what was the Republican message? Democrats said, we're unhappy with health care. We're going to do better health care. What did Republicans say? Hey, well, remember how we cut your taxes before? Okay, well, if I vote for you, what are you going to do for me now? There was no energized Republican standard. I mean, we were energized because we're conservative Republicans and it's important to us. But if you're Joe Republican voter, what were you getting? And if we close out this session where Republicans have had a quarter century in Texas of shutting Democrats out of statewide office, of maintaining supermajorities in the Texas House and the Texas Senate without delivering real property tax relief, then what the hell have we been doing the last quarter century? Literally, 25 years, a Democrat has not been elected to statewide office in Texas. But property taxes have just gone up and up and up and up and up. With one exception, 2006, Governor Perry did the franchise tax. Property taxes actually went down very briefly, and then the next year they were back up. That's the problem we've got right now. And we need lawmakers to understand that if they don't actually provide real property tax relief, to where when you're looking at your bill from 2018 and you're looking at your bill from 2019, this one is lower. That's the only definition of relief. That's it. It's only in government when you can call it relief when you've cut the rate of growth. Nowhere else would that be the case. You wouldn't tell your boss, hey, thanks for the raise, if he said, hey, we increased the rate that we will raise you when we give you a raise. That's not going to do me any good. I got bills right now. You know, just stop jerking my chain. Are you going to give me a raise? No? Okay. Well, be a big boy. I can move on with that. But that's what the legislature needs to do. They keep talking and talking and talking and talking. Talk is cheap. Property taxes are expensive. There's not a single Texan that doesn't feel like they're not overtaxed and overburdened already. But the good news is I think we will start to see some stuff there. We are hearing whispers that they're going to come out with a school finance proposal plan that talks about maybe capping revenue, maybe increasing the sales tax. We don't exactly know. But they need to get on the ball pretty quickly. Because right now, taxpayers they've had enough. And they've noticed things like how in Governor Abbott's State of the State address, the word relief was never even mentioned. They're starting to notice that. They're also starting to notice that issues like constitutional carry aren't really moving in the Texas House, aren't really moving in the Texas Senate. Now, to be fair, a lot of people there are critical of Speaker Dennis Bonnen for his committee appointments. They should be. He also hasn't referred that bill yet. We could see it go to a Republican committee. But it's not moving in the Texas Senate either. We're not seeing a real pro-life bill that gets serious traction. Until last week, we actually saw the heartbeat bill, which would lower the age of abortion from 20 weeks to 12 weeks here in the state of Texas. That's finally getting traction. State Representative Briscoe Cain and other lawmakers are leading that charge. It hasn't been filed in the Senate. We've got a whole bunch of Republicans right now who want to go and hide after the November elections. You don't see the union dues bill. You don't see the Privacy Act. You don't see the issues that unite us as conservatives, that had overwhelming super support among our delegates. Because right now they're kowtowing to Democrats. They're kowtowing to the liberal media. They're hoping, well, okay, we just, we need to go and just spend a lot of money. That'll make them happy. We'll go give $5,000 to all the teachers who vote against us. I don't think that's really going to work. Because I'm going to tell you, the folks who have been sitting around watching Modern Family and complaining about Dan Patrick for 4 years aren't going to change their tune when they just get another check. They're going to say, thanks. Write that check out to Mike Collier for Texas, $5,000. That's what they're going to do. Or the majority of teachers are actually going to be like, thanks, going to go on vacation. Who did that? I don't know. Some people. Republicans never get credit for expanding government from those people. Were there a huge amount of people who voted for Republicans after George Bush did Medicare Part D? No. Were there huge people who voted for Republicans after George Bush extended the Voting Rights Act? No. Every time Republicans do Democrats' work for them, they just get more Democrats to engage. We should never be doing that. We shouldn't be passing anything through the legislature in a Republican state that doesn't have the support of a supermajority of Republicans. And they're hiding right now despite their majority. If you do the math, think about this. Republicans in the state of Texas have a bigger majority in the Texas House and the Texas Senate than Donald Trump did when he was elected at the federal level. They were able to do a whole lot of things. They cut taxes, they cut regulations, they appointed a lot of good judges. What are you seeing here in the state of Texas? The only difference is leadership. The only difference is leadership and the fact that Republicans in Texas actually have bigger majorities. We are just shy of 2/3 votes in the Texas Senate. We were just shy of 2/3 votes in the Texas House. Now we've got 83 Republicans. If you do that math, imagine if Republicans had a 50-vote majority in the U.S. House. That's what we have in the Texas House mathematically. But we still aren't seeing positive movement. We still aren't. And that's frustrating. We're seeing a lot of really good things on this reform. We're seeing a lot of really good things on CPS. We're seeing a lot of good things on parental rights. We're hearing a lot of other good things. But at the end of this 140 days, every legislator in the state of Texas is going to be judged on what they've delivered to the people of Texas and if they've earned their vote. Because that's what it is. Each one of them is in a job interview right now with each of us. And they're going to come out at the end with a record. They're going to come out and say, this is the work that I did. Just like when you have a contractor come in to do something on your house. When you hire somebody to do a job. That's what these people are. They're no different. They're public servants. They work for us. And if they don't like you call them more. If they don't like you emailing them, email them more. There's something I actually read Julie posted on Facebook about a year ago, and it really struck me. I don't remember the source of the quote, but it was when lawmakers do something good, praise them loudly. But when they do something bad, hound them unceasingly. And that's absolutely what we need. Because we have a citizen legislature. These are people like us. They're not divine, godlike beings. They're schmucks. They're lawyers. My apologies to Judge Kim. I think he's back here. But that's what they are. And because they couldn't become mall cops, they decided to be state representatives. Seriously, could you leave your home, family, business for 140 days every 2 years and run for an election? No, that's why these guys, they don't have anything better to do. That's who we're stuck with. And we got a lot of good guys down there in Austin. Jonathan Stickland, Tony Tinderholt, Briscoe Kane, Bob Hall. A lot of people who are, kind of saying, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. And they're taking the bullets for it. Jonathan Stickland's already got a primary opponent. He's already got a primary opponent. Now, I think the guy is a goober. I don't think he's actually going to see it through. He's apparently had like 8 jobs in 7 years, kind of thing, and moves all around the state. He's apparently currently the president of the Klein Chamber of Commerce. I don't know how you can be the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Harris County and run for something in Tarrant County, but maybe you can. I don't know. I don't think he'd win, but that's already where they're at. But look, I know this has kind of seemed negative. And that's because it should. We're in the beginning of the session. They haven't done anything yet. You ought to be mad at them because they have the ability and the authority to do the stuff now. And if you don't tell them you want it done now, they'll tell you it'll be done later. And sooner or later, we'll be in June. And then it'll have to be, well, gosh, we came really close on that. And I got to look, if we just do a little bit better in this coming election and elect some more Republicans, then I'm sure we can get it done. How many times have we heard that in our lives? We ought to be on their case right now, lighting them up, saying, what are you going to do to fix this? What are you going to do to lower my taxes? What are you going to do to protect my gun rights? What are you going to do to protect religious liberties? What are you going to do to make sure that Texas is leading the way in advancing America? What are you going to do? Because the time is now. The time is never later. There's a reason they always say, the most important election ever is this one. Well, yeah, because we already know the outcome of all the other ones. The most important session of the Texas legislature is this one. It is. They got a chance to get it right, or they can get it wrong. And if they get it wrong, our state might turn blue. Because if you thought Beto's $80 million was significant, coupled with George Soros's about $20 million that he spent in the state on DA races, buckle up. Texas just became Iowa. We're estimating that we're going to have $250,000 spent by Democrats in Texas in 2020. Why? Because all the Hillary Clinton supporting Democrats know if they can flip Texas, they don't even ever have to go to Wisconsin again. They don't have to go to Florida again. They don't have to go to Virginia, North Carolina, Michigan, any of the swing states, any of those places. If they flip Texas, there's no mathematical way for Republicans to win. There's not. And if they flip Texas and they control the legislature going into redistricting in 2021 with the U.S. Census, then they will gerrymander Texas to flip its congressional delegation from majority Republican to majority Democrat, which will ensure that there is never a Republican majority in Congress again. you swing 15 Republican U.S. congressmen. That's a swing of 30 in the U.S. House. We'd never have a Republican win again. And so that means lawmakers have to deliver. They have to deliver real results to real Texans, and that starts with real relief. That's what we ought to be telling our lawmakers, that we actually want real property tax relief, and we're going to throw them out if they don't deliver it. And all of them, it's incumbent on all of them, even those people who are doing the right thing isn't enough. They got to get the job done, or we're going to maybe go find somebody else. So I think that's a brief rundown of where we're at in the legislative session. I'd be happy to answer any questions that y'all might have about any issue at all. If I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. And so I'll open it up right now. Is that okay?